Hi, I'm Eugenie Jolivet Fontana, the festival director of the Cascade Festival of African Films, and I have two guests here from our featured film for this evening. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, could you both state your names for the audience and the collective that you're a part of?
Okay. My name is Ogungbamila Temitope. Temitope is a Yoruba word that means mine is worthy of thanks. So I'm part of the Agbajowo Collective and I'm one of the writers and the director. We're like seven in number, which Matt is part of. So Matt, what's here?
Okay. Yeah, my name is Matt Cerf. I don't have as cool of a meaning behind my name. It's just my name. But yeah, I'm one of the writers, directors, and a producer on The Legend of the Vagabond Queen of Lagos. As Tammy mentioned, our we have a directors collective of seven people, all of whom are in Nigeria at the moment, except Temi, who's in Boston, and one other is in South Africa. So uh, yeah, really happy to be here, and sorry to not be able to be there in person, but I hope everyone enjoyed the film.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions, and I'm going to start off with this one in particular that I'm really curious about. Um, and that is, can you elaborate on how involving the existing Nigerian community and being a directors collective in this collaboration, how that influenced the storytelling and the authenticity of the film?
You want to go first, Tammy?
Okay. So how that informed the story. I'm from an informal settlement in Lagos, called Isale Akoka, one of the hundred of informal settlements in Lagos. Lagos is the largest city in sub-Saharan Africa. And we this story is based on true events, like realities, and we just decided to make it into a film. Forced eviction is one of the prevalent issue in Lagos where I experienced it when I was just like a day before my child's birthday. So this actually informed how we made the film because it was based on true story of a community in Lagos called Otodogbame community. So being in this kind of community, having experienced that, and knowing that media can make change in our community was why we made this film to show people, broader group of people to join us in this campaign to end forced eviction. So yeah, basically.
Oh, wow. And what about you, Matt?
Yeah, I would. I think she answered it very well. So our collective, again, we're seven people, five of whom are from like Temi, informal settlements in Lagos. And what informal settlements mean in that context is they're communities that have been established for, in some cases, over 100 years, but they lack some of the formal, recognition um, from government, and are often uh, cast as sort of, you know, negative tropes and stereotypes. They're cast as dens of criminals, or sort of a lot of their representation in popular Nigerian media. It's the place where the criminals always hang out. And so we really wanted to, all of obviously Temi and our other directors' lives, but a lot of our work together outside this film all takes place in these communities, and they're tremendous, just places of vibrancy and love and community and rich, deep roots. The first Some of the first communities in Lagos are what are now considered informal settlements. They've been there the whole time while the city grows up around it. And so we really wanted to show that side that we saw and not what is out there. And so that was part of our choice to, be a 7-person directors collective to really root that narrative perspective and lived experience, and in those realities. And to your question about how the community partnership played out, our whole, the whole process builds on a foundation of like a deep connection with the Ototobame community and other networks of evictees. And so we are all of our casting happened within informal communities where we spoke with a lot of people who had experienced forced eviction. I think our first step in writing was to do over 100 different character interviews with real people, and then from those people build our actual characters that you see in the film. So all of those people, there was the seed of every one of those characters was a real person whose life we really kind of unpacked interview style, and then built them into characters. And so in the final scene, which there's no spoilers because you guys have watched it now, I guess, by the time you see this, but the final scene where there's the human shield that meets the group of police and touts, that whole group of women were people from Ototobame who had done that exact thing in real life in 2017 to protect their community. They linked arms and stood in the face of police and bulldozers. And so that was for them like a reenactment of something they already knew. There was very little instruction, that needed to be given on how to play that scene, because it was just pulled out of the pages of history, so to speak. So yeah, it was the whole, every piece of it was trying to mirror, I guess, reality in that way, and you can only do that through working really closely with community.
Did you find any of that challenging as you were telling this story based off of real life, right? Did you find any challenges as you were making this film with some of the issues that are involved with the politics, as you were filming in those areas? Like, what challenges did y'all face? What kind of pivots did you have to make? Even in post-production, like decisions, post-production decisions, as this film, tours around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Matt.
You want to go? Am I going?
You can go. You can go.
Okay. We did not bring the whole script to the censorship board before shooting, like the permitting board, because we didn't think the whole thing would get permitted. We permitted like a few select scenes that happened in big public places, but there was, I mean, I would say most of those sort of challenges have happened actually in the distribution side. We weren't shy in how we edited it, nor in how we shot it, and we went in fully knowing it would face issues from segments of society. But I think most people who interacted with the script and who we brought on board as actors and members of Lagos Film Society, who got to know the project during the writing and in post, we're all super excited to have a story that felt real being told. Our lead actors, Temitope Williams and Debo Adedayo, both very established names, were it's part of what brought Debo to the script. Was this is a film that's trying to actually say something, and so I would say that the challenges that have come up, I mean, there's always challenges shooting anywhere, but shooting in Lagos presents its own set of more logistical and interpersonal challenges. But in terms of politics getting involved, uh, it hasn't really happened until, we did our Lagos premiere in when was it, Temmie? In November, the beginning of November in Lagos. And, you know, uh, in the comment section on the trailer and stuff, you see all types of sort of peddling of these tropes around informal settlements and these negative stereotypes, and I think that comes out sort of in the discourse. But yeah, we didn't encounter much of that during writing and production itself, and in some ways kind of are glad that it's generated the controversy it has, and I won't say hoped it got banned, but if it did, then we wouldn't be that upset because I mean it generates good buzz. But yeah, what do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, basically that's what Mala said, but I mean the main challenge was, this issue that people haven't, like, they've been keeping. I mean, first eviction issue is something that they are trying to keep in the country to not let people know. So it has not been an issue where you make a film out of, right?
Mhm.
So, and in Nigeria, the censorship board, we are doing a film against the government. So if they hear about it that, oh, this film, they are doing this film, I mean, politics and government issues, they might want to, like, I mean, that was one of the concerns we have when we wanted to shoot that, okay, how are we going to go through the censorship board since you're doing something like the government are the main actor
Mhm.
of the issue. Do you understand? So those were the challenging, because they didn't really become challenge at the end of the day,
Mhm.
because we shot in coded areas. Let me put that in context. In areas where it wasn't opened. So
Yeah.
they didn't really see us shooting all those things. We shot it in our communities. So there is no person that would tell probably the police that they are shooting this movie here. So we're all together trying to achieve the same goal. So basically, yeah.
Well, that sounds very grassroots or guerrilla-ish, like not having to, you could do it in your own community because the community is behind it, right? And and you don't have to worry about anyone in the community being like, hey, this is going on, everybody's happy about like being involved, right? Being a part of it. So yeah, I think that's awesome. I really love the color in the movie, and for cinematically, like just the vibrancy and the vividness of the film. Yeah, I still visually see these moments. Like I have little moments as a person who does photography stuff on the side and other things, like the camera angles and the way like the main character kind of is in reality, but also like those moments when the folklore and those moments like would happen. And it was just, yeah, I love that. Can you tell me a little bit more about that cinematography like choice and what you chose and how you chose to do it?
Yeah. So I mean, most of the cinematography choices started, I mean, even while writing the film, because most of us have background in media photography. And Matt had experience with filmmaking, James had experience with filmmaking. We're not like professionals at the time we were doing all these things, but we had idea of visual language and all of that. And shout out to my camera gang, Leo Pullman and Samuel Okechukwu. And yeah, we come up with those visuals. And it's basically to, as much as we are trying to tell stories of challenges in our community, we also want to make it appealing,
Mm-hmm.
to show the the vibrance of our community, to show the happiness, the joy in the community, how people are coming together, even with the condition they are in, how they are trying to make positive change and trying to build their community together. So basically, that's what informed our visual language. So as much as we are trying to show this bad issue, in this not so good issue, we also want to let people see how vibrant our community is. So, and I mean, you've seen it. So, yeah, basically, Matt will say more on it.
I don't have much more to say. Tammy's being humble. She was also part of so we're a 7-person directors collective, right? And so we can't all when we're all together writing every scene, coming up with every scene card, going through dialogue together, creating a game plan for how we want to shoot something. But on set, on the day of, we all divide into different roles. So we're not all, crowded behind a monitor, bickering with each other. So Sam Okechukwu is one of our directors. He was the camera operator. So every single shot, he was holding the camera for. Temi, she pulled focus for the film, and they both worked with Leo Perman, who's I think his brother Sawyer might actually be in the audience right now in your in your screening. He lives in Portland. But yeah, Leo and Temi and Sam in the weeks leading up to production, took our 7-person director vision and broke it down into that shooting script and really executed on the vision. So tremendous, I think, credit goes to Leo, Sam, Temi, and on the color side, from the beginning, Lagos is an incredibly rich, colorful, just urban landscape, and so you don't need to look far for those pops of beautiful color, whether it's clothes on the line or the yellow of the downfall buses, and there's so much beautiful just texture in the environment there that we did very little creating of our own sets. Everything was shot in just like organic sets. A lot of that color you're seeing is just Lagos. But in the color grade itself, we if you go back and like look at one of the later frames compared to one of the earlier frames, we kind of had a subtle increase of vibrance and saturation slightly as the film went on and as Jawu went from a place of more being within herself and kind of wanting to escape and really viewing the world as one of dead ends for her and Daniel, and just wanting to get out to as she goes through her journey to understand her roots and the love of the community and eventually being sort of a mobilizing force within that. We bring more color to the environment, particularly there's that moment when she wakes up in the fisherman's in Matonji's home after she gets pulled from the water and it's sort of when the color meter, I forget what the color grader called it. He called it like our happiness dial. And so we would like slowly be pushing up the color dial as we went later in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Mhm.
I was like,
Good eye.
noticed the shift.
Good eye.
Yeah, so this will be our last question to wrap it up. What do you hope audiences here in the States who face the same, very similar positions, indigenous folks, folks in urban spaces here in the States that face what we call gentrification, those level, what do you hope that the audience here, the takeaway would be as a form of taking action would be?
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I always say whenever we go for film festivals. As much as we want you to see the camera angles, the beautiful lighting, the vibrancy of everything, is to actually let you see the issue, right? And, let people learn. I mean, first eviction might be happening in Lagos, but we know that, housing issue, shelter and everything housing rights is something that is common to every country. Do you understand? So we actually, I mean, Otodobame which the film is based on, is the name Otodobame, is a community that was evicted in 2016. When they were evicted in 2016, they resisted and came back to their community to rebuild. While they were rebuilding in 2017, they came back again to evict them. Until today, they are still hopeful about getting back their land. And that is what we want people to see, the power of resistance and, the power of hope. I mean, we know there are so many things that might want to make us hopeless, but we must keep that hope alive and, keep fighting and, try to make sure we get what we want. I know it's quite hard. I mean, so many times where we think, oh, is this going to work? But we are still hopeful till today. And that's what I want you to get. I know there are so many things happening in the world right now, but we have to keep hope alive and keep fighting and keep resisting, and I know that we're going to prevail.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to follow that up.
Yeah.
I think she nailed it. The one thing I would add would it'd be I think I'm from Seattle, right up to I-5 from Portland, and we've been here for a long time. We're the fastest growing city in the country, incredible levels. I went to school at Garfield High School in the Central District of Seattle, which is a community that has been such a cultural icon in the city for so long, but is now, just the poster child of gentrification. So I think in Lagos, it happens like what happens in the Central District or in neighborhoods in Portland over a decade can happen in Lagos in like a night. And that's like the main difference, communities can just disappear. But in Lagos, the 25 million people in the city and like 13 million or so live in informal settlements. And so the people power is there, and that power of collective action is there, if well harnessed. And it's kind of channeled in an image in that final scene, that final clash, in our film. But I think the same is true with so many causes, whether housing rights or otherwise, and especially in our current moment in the US, it's important to remember that that collective, the power of the collective, right? Our collective's name is Agbajowo Collective. It's Agbajowo means unity, and it's the core of everything. There's a call and response that happens in all of the meetings we would do in big community meetings. Agbajowo La Fin Soya, it's Yoruba for unity, our strength, and that's really the motto. Whether it's in Lagos where you have 13 million in a city of 25 million that are experiencing these similar issues, but are being intentionally, turned against each other by politicians, or just mechanisms are at play to limit that political unity. The same as through here, it has a different face and different tools, but at the end of the day, it's kind of, when you talk about issues facing those with less power, they're always the majority, right? The people that are getting run over. It's just how to bring that together into one voice. And there's no answer, I think, that I have, or the film even as that can, but other than that. And yeah, and it's hard to always maintain hope, I think. And you see it wither sometimes, and a lot wants to erase it. So it's work.
Yeah, it's work, but we're still here.
Yeah. It's
So
still here.
we're still here. So yeah.
Hmm.
So I appreciate you all taking the time and speaking to the audience. And yeah, I want to wish y'all the best doing your tour of this film. And I hope that we get to see more of your films in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hope everyone enjoyed. Thanks for the thoughtful questions.
Yes.